Hey, this is BJ. Thanks for listening to our show's podcast. If you're a fan of all things geeky, you should check out my other podcast, BJ Shea's Geek Nation. We have new episodes every day, and you can check it out at bjgeeknation.com.
Your driver's license is important so you can get back and forth to work, get your kids to school, and back and forth to daycare. If your license has been suspended because you can't pay your tickets, you can't do any of those things. Let's talk about Chapter 13 bankruptcy. You may have heard that tickets cannot be discharged, but they can be dealt with in a Chapter 13 case. Why not come in for a free consultation? The chapter you choose will make all the difference to your getting back, legally, on the road. Let's design a plan to pay off your tickets and restore your license immediately. I'm attorney Travis Gagne. Please contact me today at choosetherightchapter.com. That's choosetherightchapter.com.
99.9 KISW, the Rock of Seattle. Why does Steve have a smile on his face? Because every day this year he has this smile on his face.
This just sums up my musical love. And that's Seattle Rock Day. All the great bands from the Northwest Beach. Obviously, I'm a huge Pearl Jam fan.
Yeah.
Mother Love Bone, Soundgarden,
yes,
Nirvana, Heart. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on and on. It's just the greatest musical city ever.
And which is why we're celebrating all day long Seattle Rock Day. Well, Steve, let's go to the great state of Florida to talk about this woman who married a tree. I don't think this is romantic. She was just trying to save it from being chopped down by the city. So she said, you know what? This is a beautiful 100-year-old ficus tree. I'm going to marry it. And that's what she did. Her name is Karen. She and other neighbors were distraught when they learned that, the city has a beautification advisory board. And I love that the advisory board decided to cut down a tree, which, I think a 100-year-old tree has got to be pretty beautiful.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you'd think.
It's kind of cool. All these women are gathering around one to marry this tree, and he has to share his wood with all of them. No, not so much.
She organized this event at the park where she and several other brides in white gowns said their vows to the tree. Karen said, quote, "We all stood there, made a vow to protect the tree. Then cake and mimosas. It was tremendous," is what she said. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah. Karen also said, quote, "If they cut down this tree, I'm going to be a widow."
A weeping widow.
Hey.
Nice.
A little better. I'll give you that one.
Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah. Damn, dude. It does seem a shame that you cut down like a 100-year-old tree. I mean, it just feels wrong.
Yeah, I don't know what the whole plan is over there, but, I mean, it's kind of odd that she's also marrying the tree.
Well, you know what? Desperate times, desperate measures, right?
And it's interesting that, like, other women... This is just stupid. I'm sorry.
I don't know. It looks like it has a bunch of trunks, so that's one for each of the ladies, right?
Oh, there you go.
See, that's a good-looking tree. They want to cut that baby down? Yeah, it's 100 years old. It's a good-looking dude, man.
It is pretty cool looking, actually. I have to agree with you.
It's a very climbable tree.
Yeah, man. See,
Any pictures of these ladies?
Oh, yeah. There's
Let's
some...
see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, Steve, listen, again, you may not give them wood, but the tree will.
Mm-hmm.
You know what the problem is, Steve? You don't like old things. That's your problem.
What are you talking about?
Well, if you're going to get married to somebody, you're not going to marry something old. You're not going to care about an old tree.
I'm also not going to marry a tree.
Yeah, well, what if it was a young tree? What if it was a sapling?
Maybe a bamboo.
Yeah, I see. Who's your favorite character? Or older Groot, teenage Groot, or baby Groot from Guardians of the Galaxy? See, I think you probably like baby Groot, right?
I don't even know why we're talking about this.
Because he's a tree.
Thank you for explaining that he's a tree. But you're asking me who I would like to marry of the Groot family.
I just said no. I said who you liked. I didn't say you want to marry. I just think you like younger people.
Oh, okay.
I mean, most of your friends are younger.
Yes, they
are. Your wife is younger.
Yes.
Really, I'm the oldest person you probably spend time with, and that's only because you have to, because you get paid.
Right.
Yeah. So what part of this am I lying about? None.
I know, but I don't really have an opinion on Groot. I only watched the first one. I fell asleep on the second one. So.
Oh, you fell asleep on the second one. All right.
It's all right.
All right.
It's going to be okay.
It's going to be okay?
Yeah.
Well, I hope the tree stays, man.
Somebody says there's a simple answer to this one, because she's an idiot, LOL.
Well, you can say that, but here, at least in Western Washington, it takes a lot to get a tree cut down, at least on Mercer Island, for sure. It is not easy to cut down a tree. The government is really like, no, you don't. So I know we love our trees up here. I think we have a real huge respect for the flora and the fauna, so that's why I think I can get behind her.
Yeah.
Hey, so look at the tree.
It's poor.
Yeah.
Poor tree. Did the tree even want to marry these women?
That's a good point. I mean,
maybe this tree likes to be single. Maybe it's like the George Clooney of trees. It still hasn't found the right woman yet.
See, that's the thing. I think the tree could be, they could be taking advantage of this tree.
Yep.
What about the tree's rights? Where's the
I just want to text her. Great radio, fellas. I agree.
Oh, yeah, nothing but the best for you.
That's right. Another person says this is a pretty sappy story.
There we go. All right, let's go to the University of Oslo.
Okay.
Because there were researchers over there in Norway, and they studied more than 100,000 people, and I do love when they get a sample size that big. And they found that the secret to happiness is using the internet every day, which
my gosh.
I can't believe that, because all the other studies show us that being addicted to our phones and it just makes us miserable. And yet, these guys are saying that if you use the internet every day, it will make you happier, especially as you get older in life.
Well, there are certain sites that do make me happier when I visit them. Thank you, Vicky.
Yeah, me too.
Are we back to the wood story again? Is that where
Yes.
we're okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's Tree X videos.
Maybe it's because older people and socially awkward people just really are able to connect better on the internet. That's what they say, that actually the internet helps you get over your midlife crisis quicker.
Huh.
Yeah, you feel more connected to the world and your friends. I get that as an old person. When you're older, the kids are off and the family's doing their thing. And so if you get to see all the pictures, all the action, you don't feel so disconnected. And that wasn't the case 30 years ago.
You have Facebook to keep tabs.
Yeah.
That, and there's plenty of things for them to do on there. Like my mom finds videos on Facebook about like how to knit or how to do this. So you get a lot of hobbies and you get a lot of fun. You get the fun videos, cat and baby pictures. So I think it's a very helpful tool. But the reason why I think people have issues with addiction, it's because they use it too much. So it's a nice balance, I'm thinking.
Vicky,
although I don't know what balance is.
Vicky, when you just said that, your eyes rolled back in your head. You look really freaky. Wow, that was weird when you were like, it's an addiction, man. Then
it's an addiction, man. It's just, I just got any more of that internet. That
one person says, the internet, not social media. I like to watch stupid kid and pet videos online. I'm with you. Yeah. You put a kid on a Roomba and just watch it go, I'm entertained for hours. Truth, right?
Yeah, that's why I have to stay away from that stuff, because I want to accomplish things, because I get lost too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it puts me in a good mood.
Yeah, it's amazing how this study contradicts so many other studies, and because most of the other studies are saying that the internet and especially social media are really bumming us all out. But maybe, Vicky, you're right on it. Maybe it's just the social media that we should stay away from. And
I don't really. I get put in a bad mood though sometimes from just regular stuff on the internet, just like reading comments on news stories. I'm making it a point now where I don't want to read the comments anymore, but there's like that weird part of my brain that's like, I just want to see how miserable people are.
Yeah, dude, you're right, and it's just all about trolling.
Mm-hmm.
It really, I'm discovering more and more the people I know, the younger people I know, at some point in their life, all they did was just want to troll folks, and therefore it's like, so these comments are nothing but trolling.
Yep, they're just to get a rise out of people.
And I guess there's a nature in us where we just that's the new pranker. The troller is the new pranker.
But at least be good about it. If you're going to be a troller, have it be funny. Have something. Sometimes just people are trying too hard.
All right, I got a new survey. Only 4% of people say that they're still keeping their resolutions perfectly.
Oh my gosh!
Why do we even try? I mean,
I don't make resolutions ever.
I don't know why we try, because every year it's like this. You'd think that this is one tradition that people just go, screw it, we're not going to do it, but they bring it up every January.
Is it the gym? Is that the one that probably people break the most? I would imagine.
Yeah, you know what?
Eating well, health stuff.
I would imagine so. This article doesn't really tell you exactly what people are giving up on, but pretty much everybody's done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They're saying that a lot of us don't even try anymore.
I don't even remember the last time that I tried.
Yeah. It's I'll tell you, I try, and then all of a sudden Milestones has a menu or a story, and I'm done. Yeah, So it's just killing me. Now, here's the one thing that I think is a good thing, because we're in the Easter season, and before Easter, of course, is Lent.
Oh, it's like the Catholic version of New Year's resolutions.
Yeah.
I mean, you give up stuff. It's a little bit different, obviously, but for what is it, 40 days? You give up whatever it may be.
It's supposed to be meat. You still only eat fish, but then they do have it. You give up other stuff too.
Yeah, some people give up, whatever, popcorn.
I gave up Catholicism for Lent.
Yeah, nice work. How's that going for you?
It's doing pretty well, I have to say. I don't miss it.
Did you go past the 40 days?
Kind of gone past the 40 days. Researchers found, though, that computer virus infections have dropped 17% in the U.S. since February 14th, and they're thinking it's because, Lent. People gave up watching porn for Lent.
And they stuck with it.
I got news for you guys.
Stuck might not be the right term.
Yo, I haven't really familiarized myself with the Catholic Church lately, but I don't think porn's ever been allowed. So giving it up is probably not something you're supposed to be giving up.
These are semantics, BJ.
Yeah,
come on, people are trying.
And they're saying the team looked at infection trends during Lent for a number of U.S. cities with high Catholic population. Of course, they got to go to Boston. And Boston's virus infection rate dropped 36% since the start of Lent, and New York's numbers have fallen by almost a third.
That is hilarious.
Wow. Yeah. So people are good Catholics.
I'm giving up porn
watching
for Lent.
porn and giving it up.
Who
for
are
Lent.
you telling that to, though? Because sometimes people ask you, like, what are you giving up for Lent? I remember that when I was a kid, and you'd have to like force yourself to come up with things. Like, I'd be like, I give up spaghetti.
Yeah.
It was always stupid stuff, but I give up porn.
See, I could totally see that being like a bro pact. It's like, all right, guys, we went to church. What are we giving up? Who's going to break first? Of a group.
I guess you tell
my
your
domain kind of thing.
Kind of, yeah.
You could tell your buddies. You wouldn't tell your parents, but I guess you could tell your buddies. Maybe, yeah, and porn watching has become so ubiquitous because of smartphones that I wonder what the church's stance. Where do they go on this? Because, religion has to evolve because societies evolve. And so you wonder, like, if it's something they tell you not to do so much of anymore in some places as opposed to it's, remember they used to say you'd go blind and you grow hair. And are there still some religions that are telling you that solo activity with yourself is bad?
I can't see you right now, BJ.
Yeah?
Sorry.
I'm
combing my hair. Yeah.
Oh, you could, yeah. I mean, you go to church, Steve. I don't go to church. Have you noticed any difference in what they say, the things you can do that when you were younger going to church, they used to tell you can't do at all?
Well, it's a different, I'm not going to a Catholic church, and a Catholic church is way different than any other experience I've had. Like, I don't miss going, like, that was just too much.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do notice a difference, but it's also because I'm going to a different type of church.
I wonder how long your church has been around, because I feel like, we're out west, I think people just evolved a lot of things, including spirituality.
I think people have definitely evolved.
Yeah.
I mean, I would imagine certain people, it's just societal. You just evolve with whatever experiences, and I think it is definitely going to bleed into church. I don't know, though, if there's a lot of evolving in the Catholic Church. I'm not sure.
But you're right, Steve. I don't know how much evolution. Danny, Vicky, I don't know if you guys, I know your families are Catholic, but any evolution that you've known? Like, there's still no women in charge, right?
Not that I know. I mean, maybe in like the offices or whatever, but everything kind of seems to be the same. Like, being more open about things, which I really appreciate, but I haven't been inside a church in a long time. No. Maybe Christmas, and that was a couple years ago.
And plus, it's like anything else. I mean, my family's super Catholic, and at that point, even if the church changes stuff, like in the daily, they hate it. Like, my family's just like, oh no, you're still not supposed to do that. You're still supposed to do it the old way. You're supposed to say the old way.
Change, man.
Like, you got to change,
whether it be TV or church. People hate change.
You've got to change.
I know. My parents are pretty open to a lot of changes. There was a lot of things that used to never believe in. There was a straight line, like, this isn't how things are. This is how things need to be. And they're coming around with some of the stuff.
Probably because of the heathen they have as a daughter.
It's like, well, either we disown her and have to explain why we disowned her, or just let her be.
BJ and Migs, mornings on The Rock, 99.9 KISW.
99.9 KISW, The Rock of Seattle. And today, yes, all day long, it's Seattle Rock Day.
Now, of course, think about all the great bands like the Pearl Jam, Alice in Chains, Soundgarden, but I think about some of those bands that started other bands because of that. Temple of the Dog, Mad Season, some of those great collaborations between great bands and great artists. It's my favorite day of the year, man, Seattle Rock Day.
Yeah, and all day long, we are celebrating Seattle Rock Day here on The Rock. Back in 2017, we had Jonathan, Eric, and Jeff from London Bridge Studios join us, and they shared a couple of their favorite moments with some of Seattle's most iconic bands.
BJ, today is Seattle Rock Day, so I'm very excited to have our next guest on. They own the studio where many of our favorite bands from Seattle have recorded their records. So please welcome to the show Jonathan Plum, Eric Lillevoix, and Jeff Ott from London Bridge Studios.
Guys, thank you for coming in, man. It is early when knowing what you guys do for a living and what you have to
bed yet.
Yeah, this is perfect. Yeah, I like this plan. I take a look at the list of the bands that have gone through that studio and the amazing music that's come out of that studio. It's just unbelievable. And of course, it's awesome that Seattle. I don't know too many other places and cities that just the couple in the country, obviously, but really have the fame for being known as a music city for one of the biggest scenes that's ever hit the entire world of rock music.
Absolutely. And for you guys, I mean, let's go back in time. Can you guys remember, like, I mean, what was the first band? Was it Pearl Jam? Was it Alice in Chains that first, like, walked in through the doors of London Bridge Studios? And what was that experience like for you guys?
Well, when I was the first guy to start there in '91. This is Jonathan, and I think I looked at the calendar that week. I was an intern, and it said like 2 weeks were blocked out with Alice in Chains. And this is like '91. I was already like a huge fan, and just happened to get this job here and at the studio. And they came in, and that was like right as their careers were just launching, and so it was like right time, right place, and pretty cool time.
And do you have any favorite memories of the boys in Alice in Chains?
I was such a fan. You know,
yeah.
I just was so nervous, and it's such an interesting place to be where you're there working for them, you know, and the studio, and getting kind of a cool like insight of watching them work, but you know, kind of on a very personal level, but not really being their friends. You know, it's a professional thing, but getting to watch the inner workings of like the band mechanics and you know how they write and all like the kind of like the ugliness, because the recording studio is a place for them to be like safe and you know expressive. So like it's a cool to see that from the outside. It's pretty special time to watch that happen.
And, you make a really good point, Jonathan, because the fact that, you know, bands come in and they all have such different styles of how they create. And that, to me, is the fascinating thing, is like how greatness happens on so many, but always differently. I mean,
absolutely.
And what is it? Was there anything that really struck you by these bands? You said, wow, these guys do it this way, which I think is terrific. And then these guys do it a completely different way. And did anybody ever say, hey, listen, you know what does Alice do? Is there anything they do you can tell? Are you able to share that info when you talk to these, or is it supposed to be looking like the cone of silence? You really can't reveal the secret sauce about how one band does something and another band
can't
does
give
something.
You their settings. No, I think for every band, I mean, what the recording studios is a place, like Jonathan said, for them to be safe and comfortable, and every band kind of requires something different, and the magic is kind of unlocking that key and giving them the space to do it. You know, one of my first sessions was Alice in Chains, too. It was such a trip.
Which record was it for you?
Some of it became Jerry's solo record, Boggy Depot, and a couple of songs made it onto what I always call the tripod record. I think it was maybe self-titled. It was like the three-legged dog.
Yeah, with Grind and all that.
Yeah, Grind. But just his guitar playing was so amazing, because I remember the tech set up the guitar, and I was like, it was that white one, you know, it has a KSW sticker on it, you know, from back in the day, and it was so iconic to me. I'm like, this is amazing, and nobody was there, so I like picked it up and I start playing. I'm trying to play Man in the Box and stuff. And I'm like, this sounds horrible, you know, because I was playing it. And then Jerry picks it up, and he's just, you know, just the sounds that he would get out of it was like another person was just speaking. You know, he could really speak through his guitar. He can speak through his guitar. And just the tones and everything, and the power once the band started playing, you're like, this is something special, you know, super cool. So
Well, I think it's awesome when I remember getting to go to London Bridge Studios. One of the things, there is an aura to that, just walking in there, from all the platinum records to the awesome, weird, trippy painting of Eddie Vedder that's on the wall. And just it's like, there's just something really special. And the part that I remember Jonathan showing me the piano that Andrew Wood played for Chloe Dancer, and also that piano was also used on Pearl Jam's Black.
That's right.
Which
Temple of the Dog, and
that I remember even sharing it with like a guy like Edge, who was a professional wrestler. He's like, if I come to Seattle, you got to take me to the studio. I want to see that piano. That's got to be something that's cool that you guys still have. Are there other instruments that are still hanging around in the studio that were used on some iconic records?
Yeah, microphones too, and the board itself. You know, we just went through this whole thing a couple years back where we restored the whole console, and it's just the energy, you know, in that place, like you said, it's everybody feels it. Everybody kind of talks about it, and they have their own, the same way that every band has its own kind of, you know, vibe. Everybody just talks about this place itself, you know, has its own whole.
Yeah, we try to maintain that vibe while still giving, you know, people the space to create the kind of music they want. We don't always do grunge, but we love it, you know, we feel it, and so do our clients. And I was going to say, we do these historic tours.
That should be a t-shirt, London Bridge Studios on the back. We don't always do grunge, but we love it and feel it.
Because you guys you've had Macklemore, Ryan Lewis in there as well, and you know what, that was pretty good for them as well, apparently.
Absolutely. I mean, they're great guys. They're totally creative, you know, just fun to be around. So just basically, like, we get inspired when musicians come in there and they're just like in their own trip. It's like the real successful ones are the ones that just like aren't listening to anything else but themselves, kind of, and they're doing what just naturally comes from them. You can't really create it or fake it. I mean, people just know right away, like, oh, wait, I know what they're doing, unless you're doing something that's authentic to yourself.
Yeah, the studio is really just an amplifier, for the band's actual vibe and creativity. And
absolutely.
So, yeah.
And you were talking about the energy, like one thing with the new bands that are coming in that we really like, because we're there every day and like we're used to that feeling, the energy. But when new bands come in, like they connect with the history of the studio and the whole Seattle scene. So like, you get bands like Window Pane who like, they're an amazing band, but they're the predecessor, or, their predecessors all recorded there. So for them, it's so amazing to be in the same exact place that these records went down.
I think it's fascinating because, as much as you bring up put the new stuff in the joint, you do keep some of the old stuff. And in the age of like new technology, 2017, I think it's cool that there's still a place for old analog and just like the basics. And so it's still valued by musicians, because I would think digital is like the only way anybody would want to go now. But it's nice to see that you guys like, no, you might want to do some analog from time to time.
Right. Yeah.
Well, that's the whole rock scene too. Is like now with a home computer, and like any musician should have a home, some sort of home studio. So bands can, in theory, do stuff at home. And there's been the backlash now where it's like, well, wait, this doesn't sound like the records that we grew up listening to. That energy, So that's what we're all about. Is like we have this amazing room that bands play together. And it's built for that energy to go down live, versus a lot of, up and coming bands will do it at home one piece at a time, one layer at a time. Where it's like for us, it's the whole magic is when bands and, humans get together and react together. And that's where the magic is. And, that's what our room is set up for.
Yeah. Yeah. And digital is amazing. I mean, we all love it and we use it, but we're also producers, and we grew up in that analog world, as you said, where we recorded to tape, where you couldn't look at a computer screen and know that something's wrong. You had to listen to it. And I think that a lot of people are just staring at their computer screen going, I need to fix this, I need to fix that, I need to fix... Where you kind of need to turn off that screen and just use your ears and listen to it. Is it good music? Is it bad music? So that kind of expertise is really what we lend to the project, and just, pull out the best and don't worry about, is it perfect? Mm-hmm. No, does it have feeling?
Yes, right.
Yeah, and collaborators. It's hard to have collaborators in your bedroom when you have a space like London Bridge and everybody's kind of coming and going. You have all this cross-pollination that happens. It's really great when, different bands that we all work with all come into contact with each other, and then all of a sudden they start, projects, or we pull one person on this record or that record.
It's interesting you bring that up, guys, because I remember that was the big complaint against the band Boston, because, Tom Schultz just pretty much did that. And that was in the 70s where, folks just thought, it sounds good, but it's like it's missing a soul. People could tell.
Clean, right?
Yeah, it was just like, it feels like there was only one person doing this. And people, they said, oh, what are you talking about? This is the future. And as it turns out, it wasn't as much as the future as people thought it would be. I think it's fascinating that you guys just walk into this legendary place, and especially even in the early days, a lot of folks were just digging in, and now you own the place. I think that's hysterical. I don't know how that happened. Was there any sort of death involved? Was it like a sort of Game of Thrones coup? What happened in order for this to, in order for you guys to say, hey, you know what, we're gonna own this joint?
I mean, they were the previous owners were up for a 20-year lease. Their 20-year lease was up, and it's like the music business was changing, and unfortunately, like, it was super sad, but no one was interested in buying it. The old owners wanted to sell it because they were kind of getting out of the industry, and it was going to turn into a carpet shop. Like that.
Oh, man.
Yeah, the landlords had like a carpet.
Wow.
And it was because Jeff and I at the time, we had been the guys that worked there the most, and it was their idea. Like the previous owners, like, hey, we think you guys should buy it. Like, oh, that sounds crazy.
Yeah, are you nuts? And it was funny going up to when we met the landlords, because they had somebody else that was going to take it over as a proven business. They're going to turn it into a carpet warehouse, and like, carpet business is great, and here we got two young kids coming in going, hey guys, we want to take this over and we're going to rule the world, and they took a chance on us, so thank God for them. And then it was actually the first day that we had really owned the place. We were sitting there literally painting the walls, and this van shows up and this band jumps out, and Eric Lillevaugh was the lead singer of that band. And they're like, hey, we've always wanted to record at London Bridge. We happen to be in Seattle. Do you guys have any time available? And we threw down the paintbrushes, and we're like, we had our first client. And then we began working together for like another 8 or 9 years, and then eventually brought him on board as another partner. So I don't know, Eric can talk more about that, but it's just crazy how everything comes together.
Yeah, I mean, we had the same experience. All three of us, those liner notes, it was the same thing for us, I mean, I remember just as a kid, flipping through and you'd see London Bridge everywhere. I thought it was in London. I didn't know it was in Seattle.
I did too. I was like, wow, I hope these Seattle bands just leave America to record.
Right. So, but, it's become, it always has been, but it's become increasingly important to us to protect it, and the history there is just, it's something that we all intimately care about, and now as all the bands that we work with, and they're inspired by it, and it's got this trajectory that we're ready to keep going for.
Well, and it's amazing how it spawns generations. Like, I mean, so many of the bands I work with now are like 18, 19 years old, right. And they'll come in, they're like, Pearl Jam recorded here? That's my dad's favorite band. And so at one point that does kind of hurt because you're like, my dad's.
I'm getting old.
But then also you just realize, like, this just keeps going. Yeah. Like, the music is so good and so powerful that it just keeps talking to every generation that's coming along, and that's how you know when something is really, really special.
I just love great art. I just love what it does. It's just such a great way to convey anything peacefully, whether you're angry, whether you're happy, whether you want change, revolution, it doesn't matter. I mean, art is just such an awesome way to go about it, and you guys, over the years and what you continue to do, it's just a great contribution to that.
Oh,
thanks, BJ and Migs.
And then also, a lot of people just assume that they can't get into the studio and record because you see all these big names. You're like, well,
you can't get into the studio.
I am now. There is a restraining order against me. It's okay. Jonathan filed it. Hopefully in about 30 days we can revisit it.
That's why we're here. It was a trade-off,
But for any local bands or anyone that wants, there's studio time and you can record at London Bridge Studios, which is pretty damn awesome.
The point. It's That's what we're here for.
Please use it.
Yeah, so go to LondonBridgeStudios.com, get all the info about that. And again, Jonathan, Eric, Jeff, thanks for coming in. We really appreciate it.
Today's podcast was brought to you by Travis Gagne, bankruptcy attorney. He's here right now and has agreed to answer more of your questions about bankruptcy. Here's a question from a listener. My house is currently in foreclosure. I've stopped making payments. What can I do to save my house?
If you're already in foreclosure behind on your mortgage, you can stop the foreclosure by filing a bankruptcy. There's different types of bankruptcy. Chapter 13 can help you catch up on your house payments if you're behind. It would mean that you'd have to start making your house payments again and catch up on the amount that you're behind over 5 years. You could also take off or strip off your second mortgage, which would help you to reduce your housing payment every month, especially once you're done with the plan and done catching up on your first mortgage. We could also try to buy you some time by filing a Chapter 13 case. Filing a Chapter 13 would definitely stop your foreclosure.
Thanks, Travis. If you have more questions about bankruptcy, you can reach out to Travis anytime at ChooseTheRightChapter.com. That's ChooseTheRightChapter.com. And thanks for listening.
Keeping up with the flood of news every single day can be quite stressful. There is climate change happening. There's the pandemic, labor movements, Nicki Minaj's cousin's friend. Hi, I am Gideon Resnick, host of Crooked Media's What a Day. Each week, Travelle Anderson, Priyanka Arabindi, Josie Duffy Rice, and I are going to break down the biggest news stories of the day in a way that hopefully doesn't always make you want to cry. New episodes of What a Day drop every weekday at 5 a.m. Eastern. Listen on Odyssey, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.